Okay, good morning all. So I'll start today's session by briefing what was discussed in the previous session. So we are in module 4. Prior to that, please confirm whether you're able to see the screen and also regarding the audio clarity. Please confirm. So with your confirmation, I'll start the session. Okay. So once again, I'm repeating, please confirm the audio clarity and screen visibility. Okay. So we are in module 4. Module 4 is talking about classification. The need or requirement here is you should classify a record or a data object and you should decide to which class it belongs. Class A, class B, class C. Okay. You can do it manually, but when it involves huge amount of data, manually doing it is not feasible. So we have automated systems which are using classifying classifier models to do the same. Okay, so we are completely automating it. You've heard about automation in recent days. Okay, so whatever classification was done manually, now automated systems with sophisticated algorithms will do this task. Okay, so many algorithms are there. So as part of your module 4, you have four major mechanisms, four major algorithms. So we completed with the first two. The first one was a decision tree. You understood using the existing observations or a training record, we will build a model, a classifier in the form of a hierarchical tree structure. Okay, so it was a tree starting with the root node, intermediary nodes, and the leaf node. The leaf node was your class label. So that was the first way of building a classifier model. Now, how this classifier model can help you, so detailing of it already we had seen. You give a new record, a new instance. So based on its previous training, it will decide to which class it belongs, class A, class B, class C. So we completed with the decision tree, but still problems are pending. Already I told you we have not solved problems related to decision tree. So I'll take it up after completing this rule-based classifier and naive-based classifier. Okay. I mean, sorry, nearing neighbors classifier. Okay. Now, after decision tree, we took up the second one, that is rule-based classifier. The objective is same. We want to build a classifier or a classification model which will take your input data and decide to which class that data belongs. Okay. So we observed rule-based classifier was working a bit differently. It was not constructing any trees. Instead, it was building rules. Okay, it was constructing rules. So instead of trees, it is constructing rules. Now we saw a few aspects of a rule-based classifier. We saw what is a rule, a general form of a rule, how a rule will be constructed. Okay, so just a recap of a few main highlights. A rule-based classifier will construct rules using existing data set. Okay, so this is the similarity between a decision tree and a rule-based classifier. Existing database or existing data set will be taken as a training example and the classifier will build the rules. Okay, so how the rules we had seen that. So rule will be in the form of I think it was in the previous topic. Okay, no problem. We had seen how a rule will be general form, also specific examples we had seen. Next, we understood what are the ways in which you can build or construct a rule. Okay, so two popular ways are there, which is part of your syllabus. The first one is direct method. So this was the discussion in the previous session. Now, what happens in a direct method? So in direct method, we understood the classifier will directly go to the database or the training record. It will try to learn the rule. It will try to learn the rule of the game. And once the rules are ready, now the classifier is ready. Given a new record, given a new instance, the classifier can decide to which class it belongs. Okay. So this was a direct method. So your observation should be in direct method. The classifier is directly learning from the existing observations, okay, training records, to put it in other words. Now, as part of example, we explored sequential covering algorithm. So this is the algorithm which works as per the direct method mechanism. Now, what is this sequential covering algorithm? This was discussed directly with the algorithm. Okay. So we understood what are the various symbolic notations in the algorithm, how the algorithm is working with a for loop and while loop to construct the rules. So just to summarize, we understood the algorithm is labeling training records as E. Already it was informed. Both decision tree and rule-based classifier needs training records. It needs to be trained. Okay. It needs to be supervised. So that is why it is coming under supervised classification. So E is training records, A is attribute. We also understood so why not is the collection of classes to which the records should be classified. So we initialized the rule to empty, something like you are initializing a variable. You'll initialize int a equal to 0, something like that. You're initializing the rule list to be empty, meaning that still you have not constructed any rules. Next, we entered into the for loop. So what was happening in the for loop? So in the for loop, each and every class was taken. In the first iteration of for loop, class y1 was taken. So for class y1, what are the rules? Meaning that if you want to decide a record belongs to class y1, what are the rules it should satisfy? What are the instances it should trigger? So we tried to do that by using the while loop. Okay. So for y1, we entered into the while loop. In the while loop, we had a function learn one rule. So these are the parameters or arguments taken by the function. And we understood while loop is working in iterations and it will construct the rules. Okay, R. For example, for class y1, 3 rules were identified: R1, R2, R3. So no more rules could be identified for class y1. So while loop will terminate and it will come out. Immediately when it comes out, two things are done. We saw that in step 7 and step 8. First thing is, whichever records were used to derive R will be removed from the training database. Okay, meaning that we will not allow a single record to be used to derive different rules for different classes. Okay, that was the first thing. Second thing was, whatever rules were discovered now, okay, will be added to the main rule list. See, please understand, small r is the rules that were derived inside the while loop. Okay, and capital R is the main rule list to which the rules should be appended. So once done with it, the for loop will enter second iteration. See, it was a very interesting flow. Okay, so we saw that. So ultimately, for loop will iterate for the number of times depending on how many classes are there. Okay, so while loop will iterate based on the number of rules that can be explored for a specific class. So once done with it, we will insert the last default rule that you can see in step 11. So what is that was explained? The default rule is a rule, is a class to which a rule will be pushed if it is not matching with any of the rules, or if you cannot put it to any of the classes. It's a default. Okay. Similar to the switch case statement that I had given as an example. So this was the sequential covering algorithm. This algorithm is constructing classifier rules or classification rules. Also, we understood it's a direct method of doing things. Next, so if the first one is direct method, second one obviously will be indirect method. Okay, indirect method. So we need to start our session from this point, indirect method. Now, what is indirect method? a brief introduction of that I had already given. So what do you mean by indirect method? Prior to that, once again, you need to have a recap of what is a direct method. So in direct method, what is happening? You have the classifier here. I'll call it as C. You have the training record. I'll call it as a tree R, the training records or previous observations. So these are the classes. Okay. Now, what was happening in direct method? Your classifier C was directly learning the rules from the training record. Okay, so rule R1, so rule R2. So all these rules R1, R2 was learned directly from the TR, meaning the training record. So that is direct. That is why they are given the name direct. Then what will be indirect? It's a very easy guess. Same situation, same scenario. What is it? I'll write the same term. We have a classifier. I'll call it as C. You have different classes here. Okay, these are the classes. You have the classifier. But one thing is in indirect method, the classifier is not directly deriving or learning the rules from the TR, that is training record. So your classifier is not directly deriving it. So it's a no here. Okay. Then what is the case? So your classifier will learn the rules from an intermediary form. That is, from the training records, some intermediary form will be constructed, and from this intermediary form, the classifier will learn the rules R1, R2, R3. Okay. So the point you should critically observe here is your classifier is not learning the rules directly from the training set. Instead, some intermediary form will be used to learn the rules. Okay. But please observe that intermediary form is connected to the training record. Okay. Hope you understood the general definition of indirect method. Now we will go how algorithms will use or will work based on this. Okay. So the first one as part of your syllabus is indirect method for rule extraction using decision tree. Okay, using decision tree. See, just now I made a statement. Now, intermediary form will be used by the classifier, and in this case, the intermediary form is the decision tree. That's it. Okay, meaning that once again I'll write this. We have a training record. Okay, from this training record, a decision tree will be constructed. Okay. A decision tree is being constructed. We know a decision tree is a classifier. No doubt about it. So this is the intermediary form I was talking about. Now, from this decision tree, the classifier will learn the rules. Okay. So this is a classifier. It will learn the rules R1, R2, R3 from decision tree. Okay. Please try to understand. It is like a hybrid combination here. Okay. So from these rules, it will decide on the classes C1, C2, C3. Okay. So this is how it is working. Indirect method using decision tree for rule extraction. Oh, I think I missed that as part of the heading. This is indirect method using decision tree for rule extraction. So meaning that what should be done here? So can you directly start building the rules in this case in indirect method? Can you directly start building the rules R1, R2, R3 using the training records? So the answer to this question is no, you cannot do it. Step 1, from the training record, you should construct a decision tree. Should construct a decision tree from the training record. This is step 1. And from the decision tree, you will go to step 2, that is building the rules. Okay, R1, R2, R3. That is, these are the rules for the classifier. So one more thing you need to analyze here. See, we are not directly using the decision tree to decide on the class. Okay. See, these type of analysis is what is required. This is, I want this skill in you. Okay. Just reading the content, what is there, and reproducing. So it will take you nowhere at this point of time. Okay. The same reflections I wanted in second intervals, which I could not find in the answer scripts. Okay. See, these type of analysis, these type of interpretations, these ways of building your own narrations, okay, for a given scenario, for a given concept. So this skill you need to develop, and it comes with practice. It's not an inborn skill. You need not be genius or super talented for having, I mean, for doing this. It is a skill you can acquire through regular practice. That's it. So one more thing you need to do here, I mean, you need to observe here is decision tree is not directly used to decide on the class A, class B, class C. Okay. So indirect method is not using the decision tree. Instead, it is constructing rules from the decision tree and deciding to which class that record instance belongs. Okay. See, please give a try. Definitely, you have the potential. Each and every individual has the potential to analyze the existing contents, derive insights out of it, come out with interpretations. Okay. Come out with relations between one concept and another concept, one principle and another principle. Try to identify patterns in the concept. If this is a very crucial skill that is very much required in you, train your brain to this specific skill. Okay. As of now, what you're doing is you're just training your brain to remember the contents and reproduce. Okay. And this is nowhere required at this point of time. Do not train your brain to remember and reproduce. Instead, train your brain to analyze, interpret, okay, come out with arguments, narrations. See, that is what is very much required. Once again, I'm repeating. Okay. So please train yourself in these aspects. See how you train your brain. Okay. Similar outcome you can experience. Once again, I do not want to deviate much because let us focus on the syllabus also. Okay. Now with this background, we will enter into the indirect method using decision tree. Okay. So you know the basics of a decision tree. Once again, just to have a recap of it, I have written that part here. Once again. Yes. So this is the decision tree. You know the whole story about the decision tree. I do not want to repeat it. Just a recap. We have a root node. A crucial attribute in the training record will become the root node. Okay. Further, we have decision nodes or intermediary nodes, and finally, the last node will be the leaf node, which is nothing but the class label. Now, our objective is this decision tree should be converted into a root. See, this is what you need to do here. Okay. So, general form have written from the root to the n minus 1 node. That is the intermediary node. That you can see this part I have written here. It becomes the antecedent or the condition in a root. Okay, you can see. Please see I have marked the decision tree, I have mapped the decision tree with the root. Okay. This part from the root to the n minus 1 node or the intermediary nodes, it is the antecedent. It will map here, and the leaf node, which is the consequent, will be mapped here. Okay, it will come and sit here. That's it. Very simple story. Okay. Not worry too much. We'll see examples once again. Okay. So once again, I'm reiterating. The objective here is from a decision tree, you need to construct rules. Okay. And the rules will be used to decide on the class to which the new instance or record will belong. So I've taken once again the same example that is there in textbook. Okay. So this was an example of classifying whether a data set is positive or negative. Okay, a data object is positive or negative. So that was a typical example. We had already discussed this in the previous module, I guess. I mean, sorry, previous topic, if you remember. Okay, so we needed to build a classifier which will, yeah, it is here, you can see. Okay, so this is the requirement. The requirement is I need to come out with a classifier, a rule-based classifier to be more specific, which will take the data set. What is there in the data set? Data set is a collection of records with positive and negative symbols. Okay. My requirement here is I need to distinguish, classify it to class Y and class Z. Class Y will contain positives and class Z will contain negative. So I need to build a classifier for the same. Okay. So for this requirement for this problem, this is the decision tree that was constructed. Okay. So P, Q, R. So P is the root node, Q and R are the intermediary nodes. As already discussed, this will become the antecedent. Okay, so this will become the antecedent. And the leaf nodes that you are seeing, this part, these leaf nodes will become the consequent or class label. So this is step one, where we have constructed a decision tree using the training records. The training records are there in the textbook. You can go through it. I have not written the records here, but from the records, the decision tree you have obtained, I have written here. Okay. Now, writing the decision tree is not the final step. Okay, it's an intermediary step, as I already informed you. From this decision tree, you need to write the rules. So that is the highlighting part of the discussion here. Okay. Because you already know how to write a decision tree from a record, so I'm not repeating it. So we are going to this part. So this is the actual topic of discussion here. From this decision tree, how you will extract the rules. Okay. So the first point here is, see, each and every branch will become a rule. That's it. For example, you can see starting from the root to the leaf node, this is my first branch. Okay. And this branch will become my first rule, R1. Okay. This is my first rule, R1. The same has been reflected, you can see here in this part. Starting from the root to the first leaf node, so whichever branch was there has been represented as a rule. So a branch of a decision tree has become a rule. So if you just go through it, it's a very simple representation, you can see. So rule number we have marked. You know the general form of a rule. So first you should have a rule number, after that a colon. So followed by that the different nodes, it may be a root node or an intermediary nodes, will become the conditions. So once again we had seen that. So to browse through this branch, what are the attributes and conditions that should satisfy? So you can see P equal to no. Okay, that is the first one, P equal to no. That will not take me to the class level, to this class level minus. So one more condition I need to introduce. So I have a and here, and so what is the condition? So Q equal to no. So with P equal to no, and once again I'll remove this. Okay. With P equal to no and Q equal to no. So using this condition on the left hand side, that is what you can see on the left hand side, which is the antecedent, I can derive the consequent, which is nothing but the leaf node, which will be towards the right hand side. So this was the antecedent that I just now briefed, and this was the consequent or the consequence. Consequent is nothing but the consequence. Because of this condition that is there in the antecedent, my record went to this class. That is a consequence. Okay. So my first branch starting from the root to the leaf node became the first rule, rule R1. And if you have followed this, other things will be obvious. Now I completed with my first branch. So then what I need to do now? So what should be my next step? Take the second branch, that's it. Second branch towards the next leaf node. Okay, so I completed with this leaf node. I finished with this. I derived the rule for reaching this leaf node. Take the second one. Okay, this is the second leaf node. Identify the branch of the decision tree from the root, which will help you arrive at this leaf node. Okay, so this is the branch. So starting from the root up to all the intermediary nodes, it will become the antecedent with condition, and the last leaf node will become the consequent. That's it. So based on this, you can write this rule. This is what has been written here. So this is rule R2. So I started from the root. So P equal to no. Okay, it took me to this part. I need to reach here. I need to reach this point. So I need to write and Q equal to yes. Q equal to S. So this will take me to this part, class plus. So this was the second rule. So in similar lines, I think you can derive the remaining ones. Please practice this. This was my second branch. Now I need to go to the third one. This is my third leaf node. To reach this leaf node, starting from the root, obviously this is the branch I need to take. Okay. So this will become my rule R3. You can see here, rule R3. So if P equal to S, I'll reach here. And if R equal to no, I will reach this specific leaf node. Okay, so this is the rule. This became rule 3. In similar lines, you can write the other rules. So the summary here is, in indirect method, I am constructing the rules using decision tree. In this example, you can even use neural networks and or other intermediary forms. So you will use an intermediary form, and from the intermediary form, you will build the rules. So your classifier is not directly going to the training record or the database. Okay. So this was indirect method. Now, is there a way of optimizing the working of the classifier here? Can I improve the performance of this classifier? Can I reduce the computing? Yes, definitely. See, there is always a scope for optimizing the algorithms or its working procedure, and the same you need to do even in your projects. Okay, so where you improvised on the efficiency of this system, of this algorithm. So this will be a common question to you by the examiners. Okay. So you can understand that perspective in this example. You can see, for example, consider this rule. Consider rule 1 to 5. You consider all the rules. Okay. Try to derive some patterns or connections which can reduce my computation or memory. Okay, while verifying to which class a record belongs. Try to see some patterns here. See, you see, there is one pattern here. Wherever Q is equal to S, it is taking to class plus. You see here. If there is Q equal to S in the antecedent part, the consequent is class plus. One more instance we will see. Q equal to S. Okay. It is taking to class plus. See, this was the optimization that I was talking about, and for these type of optimizations that is expected in you during project or when you start working as a professional in the industry. See, already the required groundwork has been done. Your roles and your responsibility will be to make things better, to improvise on the things, okay, which we call as optimization. So you can see here in this instance, wherever I encounter or wherever I experience Q equal to Q equal to S in the antecedent part, I'm being taken to class plus. Now, can I use this pattern or intelligent observation to my benefit in terms of computation? Yes, definitely. So how I can use it? For example, you can see this. So if Q equal to S, during verification of a new record, if you find Q equal to S, no need of verifying all the other stuff, no need of verifying this. Directly declare the record to be belonging to class plus. This is the optimization I was talking about. Now there is a record R, okay, a new record, new data, okay. I want to decide whether this data belongs to class minus or class plus. I want to decide on this. Okay, I want to decide whether this data belongs to class minus or plus. My classifier need not go and check all parts of the rule. Okay. First, it will check whether q equal to s. Okay. If so, directly take it to class plus. No need of verifying other rules or other parts of the antecedent. Now, can we declare this as a optimization? Can we declare this as an efficient way of doing the computation? Yes, definitely. Why? Because please observe, your critical observation is very much important here. Please observe, we are not considering this part. We are not computing this. So memory is saved, processing cycles are saved, and response time will be fast. Okay. So please think about each and every algorithm, each and every concept, specifically in data mining and even in machine learning, in these aspects, where you can do the improvement, where you can improve on the efficiency. So this technique we call as simplifying class rules. That's it. Okay. So simplifying means try to reduce the computation by observing intelligent patterns like this example that I gave. This was just a typical example, that's it. Okay. In this example, you observe wherever you have this in the antecedent, this is the consequence. Okay. So reduce the computation. Make your classifier better by reprogramming it to adapt to this situation. Okay. So this we call as simplifying class rules. Okay, so we will conclude this session with this last part. So you already know what is rule pruning. I will not repeat it once again. Rule pruning means among the available rules R1 to R8, for example. Okay, so if R3 and R6 are not contributing to decide on a class, just remove it. That's it. My classifier has constructed some 10 or 20 rules. In those 20 rules, I found out 2 or 3 rules are not good in classifying, okay, or they are not better in doing a decision regarding to which class the record belongs. Just remove it. So we call it as rule pruning. You know what is pruning? Pruning means removing. In terms of a tree, it is cutting the branches of a tree. In terms of rule, removing the rule which is not contributing to making a decision about a class. That is rule pruning. So that was the thing. And coming to the last part, we will see what is a quality measure. In previous discussions, if you remember, I told you I had used the term quality measure. Okay, so what is that has been covered here? You just see. We have two terms which will be used for quality measure. One is coverage, the other one is accuracy. Okay, what is coverage? So coverage is, you can see a simple representation. So how many tuples covered by the classifier divided by how many entries. Okay. So if you have not understood this, no problem. We'll directly go to example. Consider this data set, this training data set. Okay. This training data set has some 10 records, 1, 2, 3, up to 10. Okay. So how many records are there in the training data set will become the denominator. Okay. Denominator, that is how many entries in the data set. What will go into the numerator? Out of these records, how many records were successfully identified by your classifier? Okay. For example, out of the 10 records, the classifier that you have built, maybe using a decision tree or by using a rule-based classifier, could identify 4 records successfully. Meaning that out of 10 records, it could identify 4 records regarding to which class it belongs. In remaining 6 cases, it failed. Okay. So now what is the coverage here? Coverage of your classifier. What is the coverage of your classifier? So it is 4 by 10, meaning that 40%. What does it mean? It means your classifier is 40% accurate. That's it. And it's not acceptable. Once again, you can carry this to your project also. You're building a classifier, you're using some cluster based mechanism. The outcome that you should get should be of a convincing coverage, meaning that it should be more than some 80%, 90%. Okay. So in this specific example, you can see my classifier is only identifying 4 records from the 10 records, meaning that it can accurately identify, it can identify that 4 records belong to these specific classes, and in remaining 6 cases, it is failing. So it is 40% accuracy. So this we call it as coverage. Put it in other words, out of the 10 records, your classifier is able to cover 4 records or identify 4 records. It is something like, for example, you consider 10 students are seated in a classroom, and out of those 10 students, I can only recognize 4 students. Remaining 6 students, I'm not aware of them. What is the reason? Maybe my training is not accurate. Previously, I did not collect information about those remaining 6 students. In training, it was not done. So I could only identify 4 students, and 6 students completely I failed in identifying them. Okay, so that is a typical case here. Next one is accuracy. Okay, now I just now mentioned out of 6 students, I'm able to identify 4 students. I'm able to name 4 students. In that also, I need to check whether whatever I have named, okay, is correct or not. Okay, whatever I have named, maybe in some cases it may be wrong also. For example, out of 10 students, just now I told you I'm able to identify 4 students. Out of those 4 students, how many students I could identify correctly? Okay, that is accuracy. So please try to understand the difference between coverage and accuracy in a classifier. Okay, coverage means, just now I told you, out of 10 students, I could identify 4 students based on my previous observation. So that is coverage. In those 4 students, how many students I could name correctly? Okay, that is accuracy. So we have a model for it. Accuracy is equal to n correct. For example, you consider in those 4 students, I could recognize only 2 names I could take out properly. Okay, 2 students I named correctly out of 4 students. So now what is the accuracy of this classifier? So now it is only 50%. So hope you heard the difference between coverage and accuracy of a classifier. You'll explore this in much more depth and detailing in later semesters in your machine learning, in your big data analytics, in your project. Finally, your project, you need to touch upon these aspects also. Okay, whatever classifier you are using, whatever algorithm you are using, with respect to the data set you have chosen for your problem, how much accurate it is, how much coverage is there. So all these things, all these dimensions you need to touch upon. Okay. See, that is why I was telling you about the significance of this subject. It is not limited to data mining for academics in 6th semester. Okay, it is having a broader spectrum. This is just a ABCD for you, few basics over which you need to build.